In the next few minutes, I'm exposing the 10 foundations women over 45 need to stop putting on their face immediately. We're talking formulas that oxidize into a different color within 30 minutes, ingredients banned in the EU but still on American shelves, and products labeled anti-aging that dermatologists say actually accelerate aging. After 30 years doing makeup under HD cameras in Hollywood, I've seen what these foundations actually do when the lighting doesn't lie. And the number one worst foundation on this list scores a 9 out of 10 on EWG's hazard scale. An actress walked onto set wearing it, and before anyone said a word, the crew thought she was having an allergic reaction. She wasn't, that was just the foundation. But stick around, because I'll reveal the 4 foundations that actually work for our skin. Let's get into it. 10. Bare Minerals Original Powder Foundation. 4 out of 10. I want to be fair about this one because it isn't horrible on its own, but powder sitting on mature skin is a gamble, and most of the time you're going to lose that bet. It clings to dry patches, grabs onto texture, and by end of day your skin looks flat and dull instead of alive and healthy. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology found that powder-based formulas reduce skin surface hydration by up to 25% over an 8-hour wear period. Our skin at this stage of life is already losing moisture faster than it can replace it, and powder foundation accelerates that process. I've used mineral powder on younger clients and it photographs fine, but for most of us over 45, powder is quietly creating problems you don't realize are coming from your foundation. If you love yours and it works for you, I'm not going to fight you. But know that the science says your skin is asking for moisture and powder fundamentally cannot deliver it. But at least powder is honest about what it is. This next foundation actively tricks you. 9. Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation. 4 out of 10. I prepped a woman for a press event last month using this at her request, and in the makeup chair under studio lighting, it looked gorgeous, smooth even, beautiful coverage. 3 hours later, under natural light at the venue, it was a completely different product on her face. The clay formula dries down fast, and once it sets on mature skin, it locks onto every dry spot and makes fine lines look deeper than they actually are. Tarte lists fragrance in their ingredients, which EWG's Skin Deep database flags as a moderate hazard because fragrance can legally contain dozens of undisclosed chemicals, some of which are restricted in European cosmetics. That's the trap with this product. The mirror in the store tells you one story under those warm, flattering lights, and the bathroom mirror 3 hours later in natural daylight tells you the truth. On younger skin with more oil production, I understand the appeal. On ours, it's a bet that doesn't pay off, but Tarte at least looks good in the store. This next one doesn't even give you that courtesy. 8. CoverGirl Plus Olay. Simply Ageless Foundation. 3 out of 10. The Olay partnership is doing all the heavy lifting on this label. Women our age see Olay and think skincare. They think science. They think somebody tested this specifically for mature skin. But the formula contains dimethicone high up in the ingredient list, which creates a silicone barrier that can trap dead skin cells and make texture look more pronounced as the day goes on. I've watched this foundation settle into smile lines within 2 hours on multiple clients. It also contains a form of talc, which the European Union has moved to restrict in cosmetics over contamination concerns that the FDA has been slower to address. The Simply Ageless name implies this product is doing something for your skin. It isn't. It's a mid-range foundation riding the reputation of a skincare brand. And for women over 45, that gap between what it promises and what it delivers is wide enough to drive a truck through. And CoverGirl isn't the only brand using a skincare name to sell you a bad foundation. 7. Physicians Formula The Healthy Foundation. 3 out of 10. Physicians Formula sounds medical. It sounds clinical. It sounds like someone in a lab coat approved this for your face. But no physician is formulating this product, and the ingredient list tells a different story than the branding. It contains synthetic fragrance and multiple preservatives that EWG rates as moderate concern for skin irritation. I tested this on 3 clients over 50 in the same week, and all 3 reported the same thing. It felt fine going on, looked decent for about an hour, then started separating around the nose and chin before lunch. By afternoon, their faces looked patchy and uneven. The SPF 20 inclusion is actually smart, but sunscreen in a foundation that separates and slides around your face by noon isn't protecting anything consistently. The name does more work than the formula. Don't let the word healthy on a label do your thinking for you. And speaking of misleading labels, 6. Neutrogena Healthy Skin Foundation, 3 out of 10. Dermatologist recommended is printed right on the packaging, and that phrase alone probably sells more units than the formula itself. But dermatologist recommended doesn't mean dermatologist tested on mature skin. This foundation contains retinol palmitate, a form of vitamin A that some dermatologists actually caution against in leave-on products because of photosensitivity concerns. The EWG database rates it as a moderate hazard specifically in sunlight-exposed products. For a foundation you wear outside all day, that's worth knowing. The formula itself oxidizes noticeably within a couple of hours, shifting about half a shade darker on most skin tones I've tested it on. A client came to my chair last year after wearing this for 6 months, convinced her skin tone had changed. It hadn't. Her foundation was just shifting color every single day, and she'd been matching her concealer to the oxidized shade instead of her real skin. But Neutrogena at least keeps the ingredient list relatively short. This next brand loads theirs up. 5. L'Oreal Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation, 2.5 out of 10. This one is marketed directly at women over 50 with the word Age Perfect on the label, so you'd expect them to have figured out mature skin by now. They haven't. The serum formula sounds luxurious, but it sits on top of the skin instead of melting into it, and by mid-afternoon it starts sliding, especially around the forehead and nose. The ingredient list includes methylparaben and propylparaben, both of which the European Commission restricted in cosmetic products back in 2014 over concerns about endocrine disruption. They're still perfectly legal in the US. When the hook of this video mentioned ingredients banned in the EU but sitting on American shelves, this is exactly what I was talking about. A product specifically designed for mature women containing preservatives that European regulators decided weren't safe enough for European women. That shouldn't sit right with anyone. But at least L'Oreal is upfront about targeting our age group. This next brand hides behind a medical endorsement. 4. IT Cosmetics CC Cream, 2.5 out of 10. This one hurts because I know how many women our age bought this specifically because of the plastic surgeon endorsement. Every woman over 45 has tried it at least once, and most of them came back to my chair still trying to make it work. It goes on heavy, grabs onto texture immediately, and by mid-afternoon your face looks dry and cakey under any kind of real lighting. I've tried it with hydrating primers, with rich moisturizers underneath, with beauty sponges versus brushes versus fingers. Nothing fixes the fundamental formula problem. It also contains synthetic fragrance, which the International Fragrance Association acknowledges can include allergens that the EU requires disclosure for, but the US does not. HD cameras expose this foundation within minutes, and natural afternoon light isn't much kinder. For something marketed directly at mature skin with a medical endorsement behind it, it has no business performing this poorly. That endorsement isn't the only thing misleading women our age. This next foundation traded its entire legacy for a formula change nobody asked for. 3. Estee Lauder Double Wear, 2 out of 10. Don't get comfortable because this one let me down hard. They changed the formula, and it just doesn't work for us anymore. It starts looking fine, and for the first hour you'd think you made a great purchase. But within a couple of hours, it oxidizes noticeably darker, starts feeling heavy on the skin, and settles into lines that weren't even visible that morning. I had a client in my chair last month who used to swear by this product 10 years ago, and when I showed her what the current version does under HD set lighting, she couldn't believe she was looking at the same brand name. The reformulation also introduced DMDM hydantoin, a formaldehyde-releasing preservative that the EU has restricted in cosmetics. The Environmental Working Group flags it as a high concern ingredient. For a foundation with that legacy and that price tag, reformulating with a more controversial preservative while the product performs worse is a painful fall from grace. Estee Lauder at least had a reputation worth losing. This next one never earned one to begin with. 2. Revlon Age Defying Foundation, 2 out of 10. Age Defying is doing some extremely heavy lifting on that label. This goes on streaky from the first brush stroke, never quite blends out the way a foundation should, and separates around the nose and chin before you've even made it to lunch. I tested this on a client's hand during a consultation just to show her what oxidation and separation look like in real time, and within 40 minutes the color had shifted enough that you could see it from across the makeup table. The ingredient list includes BHT, which the European Union classifies as a substance of very high concern and has restricted in cosmetics, while the FDA still allows it without limitation. By end of day, your face looks patchy, rough, and honestly just tired. The skin underneath looked better without it. For something that's supposed to be fighting the visible signs of aging, this one gave up the fight before it even started. But Revlon isn't even the worst offender on this list. This last one personally offended me. 1. Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. Negative 2 out of 10. I'm ending the bad list with this one because it earned the bottom spot and then kept digging. It oxidized into a dirty orange tone within 30 minutes of application. Not a subtle shift. A visible, unmistakable change in color that made a gorgeous client look like she was wearing someone else's shade entirely. And it didn't just sit there looking wrong. It actively migrated into fine lines and wrinkles she didn't even know were there. I put this on a woman before a brunch, and her friend asked if she was getting enough sleep. She'd had 8 hours. This foundation just decided to add 10 years to her face for free. The applicator sponge tip is breeding ground for bacteria if you aren't replacing it constantly, which most women don't. And the ingredient list contains multiple parabens and synthetic fragrance, both flagged by the EWG database and both restricted in EU cosmetics. The name says Instant Age Rewind. What it actually delivers is instant aging, fast forward. Don't use this, please. After all of that, you probably need some good news. Here's hope for women who actually want clean, honest foundations that work with mature skin instead of against it. These 4 products prove that foundation can be made right. 4. Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation. 8 out of 10. Starting our safe list strong. This goes on smooth, stays exactly where you put it, and at the end of a 12-hour day, your skin still looks fresh and natural. It doesn't crack, oxidize, or creep into fine lines. It just sits there quietly being perfect. I've used this from early morning call time through evening wrap on set, and it doesn't move, doesn't shift, doesn't change color. The EWG database rates the ingredient profile as low concern across the board, which is rare for a department store foundation. The finish looks like skin, not like makeup, and that's what you want, especially under the kind of lighting that forgives absolutely nothing. This is what a reliable foundation actually looks like. That's a strong start. But this next one takes hydration even further. 3. NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. 8.5 out of 10. The hydration in this formula keeps everything smooth and flexible all day instead of drying down and cracking like those unsafe products do. I put this on a client at 6 in the morning for an early call time, and 12 hours later, her skin still looked fresh and dewy under full stage lighting. The light reflecting finish does exactly what the name promises, without looking glittery or artificial. NARS formulated this without parabens, without sulfates, and without synthetic fragrance, which puts it ahead of most of what's sitting on department store shelves. It just makes mature skin look healthy and alive, which after 30 years behind the makeup chair is all I've ever wanted a foundation to do. NARS proved a foundation can look fresh all day, but this next one does that and photographs like nothing else at any price point. 2. Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. 9 out of 10. This is the one I reach for on red carpets and award shows and press tours. It's lightweight, melts into your skin like it belongs there, and makes everything look effortlessly smooth and polished from morning through evening. Your face just looks expensive and well rested. Not a single fine line shows through. The formula is free of parabens and alcohol denat, which is the drying alcohol that dermatologists identify as one of the fastest ways to age skin prematurely through a cosmetic product. Yes, it's $70, but after watching women waste $40 on a foundation that oxidizes, then $35 on one that cakes by noon, then another $28 on one that settles into every crease by dinner, paying once for something that actually works with your skin is the smartest beauty math you'll ever do. Armani set the bar high, but the number one safest foundation on this list cleared it. Luxe Cosmetics Foundation, 10 out of 10. This is the foundation that made me believe again. The formula contains niacinamide and hyaluronic acid, which means while those other foundations on this list are aging your skin, this one is actually supporting it while you wear it. It doesn't cake, it doesn't oxidize, and it doesn't settle into lines. The EWG database rates the core ingredients as low concern, and it skips the parabens, the synthetic fragrance, and the formaldehyde releases that showed up in half the unsafe products we just talked about. But what convinced me wasn't the ingredient list, it was my clients. Every single woman I've put this on has said the same thing. It just looks like my skin, but better. And they're right. It matches your natural skin tone so well that the first time I blended it in and watched it disappear into the skin, I genuinely got emotional. After 30 years of swatching wrong shades under bad fluorescent department store lighting, watching a foundation just work felt like a small miracle. It's also cheaper on Amazon than anything comparable at the department store counter, so I'm going to leave a link in the description for you down below. Out of everything I tested, only 4 foundations are actually safe for mature skin. 4 out of 14. That should tell you everything you need to know about what's really sitting on the shelves at your local beauty counter. The European Union has banned over 1,600 ingredients in cosmetics. The United States has banned roughly 11. That gap is sitting on your face every morning, and most of the brands on the unsafe list are counting on you never flipping the bottle around to read what's actually in it. Stop using the foundations that are aging you and start using the ones that actually protect your skin. You deserve better. If this changed how you think about your makeup bag, share this with every woman in your life who deserves to know what she's really putting on her face every morning. Subscribe so you don't miss next week's breakdown of what's really in the skincare products you're buying every week. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.